Hello everyone, it's Jen, Scrapbena Creations. I hope you're having a lovely day. Today I have 12 sympathy cards for you featuring the Simple Stories Vintage Cottage Fields collection. So I purchased the floral bits. There's 39 pieces. Here's a close-up look at all of them. Your package will be more full when you purchase it. I actually filmed this part after creating my cards. I'm using the 12 by 12 Basics kit, which comes with 6 coordinating 12 by 12 papers, and then I used half of the 6 by 8 paper pad, and this was recently featured in a Simon Says stamp kit, so I feel like it's super popular. I thought it would be great to show how you could use this collection for sympathy cards. So I'm bringing in the honeybee stamps. This is the sympathy and sorry word dies, and they have the shadow dies. I purchased the Simon Says stamp sentiment strips and then this beautiful large stamp set called Sympathy Greetings, I think. I will have everything listed below for you to easily access. So let's jump into card number 1, and I'm creating a slimline card. Now this slimline, the scalloped edge, is from a Heffy Doodle. It's called the Pull Tab Slimline die. I'm also using that inner piece from another Heffy Doodle Slimline. I loved that floral pattern paper. It's just gorgeous. So the scalloped paper is from the 12 by 12 paper. I did cut out a circle here using a stitched circle die, and I am going to stamp the sentiment, sending loving thoughts your way. So I'm just going to use some of my embossing buddy here, just to make sure that there's nothing staticky and my embossing powder will not stick where I don't want it to. So I'm using my Versafine Clair Nocturne ink, and then I'm going to use some clear embossing powder here, and I'll just heat set that. I used the embossing powder for all of my cards today just to give it a little bit of shine. So I'm going to center that circle towards the top, and then I'm going to use this 2-flower piece of ephemera here towards the bottom, and I'm going to use the little yellow bird. I'll have that bird sitting on the flowers. I'm just going to overhang the bottom of that ephemera piece a little bit, and then I will trim that off. Now I play with where to put my little bird here because I wanted it sitting on one of the stems. I couldn't get that to work. So you'll see here in a second, I'm trying to figure out how to make this look okay, even though it's going to probably be sitting on one of the floral petals. First, I'll get that sentiment into place. And while I play around with this little bird here, I'm going to tell you my inspiration for creating sympathy cards. So recently, I've been seeing a lot of posts over on crafting and card making Facebook groups where people are asking for examples of sympathy cards, talking about how they're really challenging to make, especially when you find yourself in a situation where you need one. So sympathy cards are not something that I create a lot of myself, and so I thought it would be great to kind of feature sympathy cards over the next little bit on my channel so I can build up my stash and hopefully provide some inspiration. So I purchased some paper pads, and then I also purchased those stamp scents and the sentiment strips and then the word dies that you saw, and I'm just going to keep reusing those but create different cards throughout the next little while. So I hope that this is helpful for some of you and maybe inspires you to create some really beautiful sympathy cards. This paper, I think, was perfect for sympathy cards. So we're on to card number 2, another slimline card. So I'm using a smaller scalloped slimline die here. I believe this one is from Trinity Stamps. Again, using some of that beautiful pattern paper to the center. And then for this one, I'm using the Simon Says stamp, and I'm stamping the sentiment, sending thoughts and prayers your way. So I am going to try to use as many of those stamps in that stamp set so you can see them all stamped out over the course of making my videos with these sympathy cards. So again, I'm just going to heat emboss this with some clear embossing powder. These sentiments are beautiful. There's a variety of different messages. They're in different sizes, shapes. It's just really great in terms of having a lot of variety for sympathy cards. So I am so pleased that I purchased this stamp set, and I will keep it in my stash for years and years to come and probably keep pulling it out. So for this card, I thought it would be fun to feature 3 different circles on my Slimline. So the one to the top and the bottom are the same size, and then I decided to have the one in the center with the sentiment a little bit bigger. And I feel like together those 3 circles really fill out this Slimline card nicely. I loved that it's kind of a peachy pink color with the white polka dots, and then just having that floral pattern paper in the background, I think is just really beautiful. So I'm taking 2 of the butterflies or moths from the ephemera pack and putting 1 on each of the smaller circles. And then in the end, I decided to add one of those little glossy hearts from Pink and Maine. I didn't mention that product when I was showing you, but that's where the hearts come from. And I do, for this second card, put it on afterwards, so you'll see it in the end with all the photos, but I did also put one on the first card. So for the third card, I'm going to make a landscape card, and I loved this bold floral print. I'm going to break that up a little bit with a strip of the peachy pink and white polka dot pattern paper that I used in the previous card. And then I'm going to line this up on a scalloped panel. This is from the Honeybee Stamps scalloped frame dies, I believe they call it. Again, it will be listed below. I got this, I think, a couple months ago now, and I'm using these scalloped frame dies all the time. I absolutely love them. So I'm going to feature another circle. I just used the Heffy Doodle stitched circle die again and cut that out a piece of the pattern paper. I'm going to use the smaller floral die cut here, or ephemera piece. This is very similar to the one I used on the first card, just in a smaller scale. And then I'm going to add the pink flower behind that, and then I'm going to use the smaller yellow bird. So sweet. Now I thought I was going to use this sentiment strip that says Our Sympathies. In the end, I'm going to switch this out, and I'm going to stamp a sentiment, and I'm going to stamp with Caring Thoughts, and I'm just going to place that towards the bottom of the strip here, again using my Versafine Clair Nocturne ink. This one I decided not to heat emboss, so I'm just going to stamp this a couple times. I didn't want to warp the card, seeing I pretty much had it created, and because the pattern paper is not as sturdy, or it's not as high weight as a cardstock, I just didn't want to risk warping it. So I'm going to place this on a card panel or card base, and this measures 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it is an A2 size card. So there's card number 3 complete. For card number 4, I'm going to do a portrait style A2 size card. So the same measurements as the previous card. I cut out the really kind of pretty blush pink. This is from the 12 by 12 paper pack, using a stitched rectangle die. And I did cut down a strip of this black and white polka dot paper, and I also ran it through my Big Shot die cutting machine with that rectangle stitch die, so it has the stitching on the right and left sides. Using another stitched circle here in this darker pink pattern paper from the 12 by 12 paper, and then adding this beautiful floral ephemera piece to the center of that. I love how that bright white kind of ivory flower is towards the bottom, and I think it really picks up on the white polka dots. And then I stamped out the sentiment, Our loved ones are forever, close to us in our memories. So there's card number 4 complete. Moving on to card number 5, another Slimline die, or another Slimline card, using some Slimline dies here. So I just cut out this butterfly pattern paper. I have the back panel there, that yellow, cut out of a stitched Slimline die, so it has some stitch detailing. And then this insert piece is from Heffy Doodle, and it has the scalloped pieces to the inside of the windows. I did cut out those center pieces with some of the checkered pattern paper just to break up the busyness of the butterfly paper, or moths. I'm not quite sure. They look a little bit more like moths to me, but either way, really pretty. So I'm going to add those into the centers. I'll let that dry a bit, and then I'm going to stamp the sentiment "So sorry for your loss" on the inside of the middle panel here. Just trying to line that up so it's nice and straight inside that square window. Again, using my Versafine Clair Nocturne ink. This is my favorite black ink for stamping sentiments. I'll stamp that a couple times, and then with this one I did decide to go ahead and heat emboss it, even though it is on the lighter weight pattern paper. So I'll just heat that quickly. You'll see it turn to a nice shiny black color. Just running that heat tool along the back just to straighten out where it has warped a little, and then I did let that sit for longer than it shows with my stamp block on top of it. So for this one, I decided to have the larger yellow moth in the bottom opening, and I'm going to tilt that so it fills up that window quite a bit. I did decide to add some foam tape to all of my little moths here, just to add some dimension, and I'm going to have the 2 smaller ones in the top opening, and I just think that looks really pretty and is balanced really nicely. So there's a close-up of that card. Now moving on to card number 6. This butterfly paper is one piece of the 6x8 paper in the paper pad, and I just thought it was so pretty. So I'm going to do a scalloped edge on this black and white polka dot paper. And then I'm simply going to add that strip from the 6x8 paper pad right down to the right hand side. Again, I used a stitched Slimline die for the yellow back panel, and that yellow piece of paper is from the 12x12 coordinating paper. So a very simple card, but I think it's just really elegant. I'm using one of the Simon Says Stamp sentiment strips that says "With Sympathy," and I'm just going to place that in between the 2 pink butterflies or moths. So I'll just trim up that sentiment strip a little bit, and there is that card complete. To finish off though, I will add a little bit of glitter to my butterflies with my Spectrum Noir glitter pen, just to give it a little bit of extra shine, but super easy card, and I think it turned out really pretty. So for the next card, card number 7, I'm going to do another A2 size card. I loved all of these butterfly prints in the paper pad. This is a sketch, I forget the number, I've used it recently in one of my multiple card videos, and I love this layout with having the circle to the top right. And so I just use a stitched circle die here again, and then I'm going to add one of the moths in yellow on that circle die, and then using one of the Simon Says Stamp sentiment strips again. This says, "I'm here for you, friend," which I think is really nice. And this could actually be for another occasion besides sympathy. I think it works well for the sympathy, but it could also just be, if you know someone who's kind of going through a difficult time, which many people are given the global pandemic. I just think that this is a really sweet, simple card. So again, just adding some glitter to that moth, and that will complete card number 7. So moving on to card number 8, I'm going to do another slimline. This time I'm going to do a landscape slimline. Now this one is a little bit smaller than what I would normally make. I usually make my Slimline cards 3.5 by 8.5. This one is just a little smaller, but it means when it's on the card base, it will just have a nice white border. So I'm using the Honeybee Stamps Sorry Sentiment die, and you can see there how the dies come with the word itself and then the shadow. So for the shadow, I just used some white cardstock and then some of the yellow 12 by 12 pattern paper to cut out the word sorry. I'm using my scalloped edge here again. My scallop dies are from Fawn, and there's 3 different sizes. This is the largest of the 3 sizes. And then I'm just going to have a strip of this beautiful floral paper over top of that. I do decide to pop up the word sorry and my little moth here on some foam tape, again, just to add some dimension. And then I will use one of these sentiment strips to finish off my sentiment here, so it will read, sorry to hear of your loss. We'll just kind of tuck that behind the Y. I love this floral pattern paper. I think it's gorgeous. And then I'm going to have my little moth here just kind of sitting above the S on the word sorry. So here's a close-up look, and then I will move on to card number 9. So card number 9 is my first mini Slimline, and these are so much fun. So I create my mini Slimlines at 3 by 6. The black paper is from that Basics 12 by 12 paper pack. I'm using a really pretty kind of that peachy blush. There's some floral pattern on that. It's very subtle, but it's very pretty. And then I'm using this large floral ephemera piece here towards the bottom. Again, one of those sentiment strips that reads my deepest condolences, and I'll just kind of place that on top of the leaves underneath that largest flower there. And then I'm going to add my moth or butterfly. I feel like I keep saying that. I really don't know if they're moths or butterflies. But you know what I mean if I use butterfly or moth interchangeably. So I am just going to trim up those pieces that are hanging over, and there's my first mini Slimline that I've ever created. I'm going to add a little bit of glitter to the moth, and that card is complete. So I made 3 mini Slimlines in total. This is the second one, and it's card number 10. This one I'm going to do in landscape. So I did just cut down that floral pattern paper. So pretty. What I love about the mini Slimlines is with the 6 by 8 pattern paper, you can get multiple mini Slimline cards out of one piece, so it's great. Again, bringing in my scalloped border dies here. I cut that out of the peachy pink pattern paper with the black polka dots. I'm going to use a scallop circle this time in the pink paper from the 12 by 12 paper pack. And then I'm going to have my moth or butterfly on top of that. I'm going to add the sentiment strip, so deeply sorry for your loss. I am going to cut that a bit on an angle here by the word so. I think that just gives a little bit of interest to that sentiment, and I love how that sentiment strip really picks up on the black paper for the background there that's just peeking out of the edges around that floral pattern paper. So there's card number 10 complete. Card number 11, this is a very simple card design. Again, I'm using that black piece of coordinating paper. I decided to corner round the 2 top corners for this card, just for something a little bit different. I'm going to use that same peachy blush pattern paper, and then I used one of my, this is from Sunny Studios, and this is the Stitched Arch die. So I cut that out of the pink pattern paper, and then I'm going to add that floral piece of ephemera inside of that, and then using the sentiment strip, praying for you. So again, a very simple card design, but I think really pretty for a sympathy card. For the last card, card number 11, card number 12, I'm going back to an A2 size card. I had this beautiful floral paper that I hadn't used yet, so I wanted to feature that. I did use a stitched rectangle die for that. And then just adding a strip of this darker pink pattern paper. Then I am using a stitched oval die here as kind of my focal panel where I can have my ephemera sitting on. So while I let that dry with a stamp block on it, I'm going to go ahead and add my floral image here to the center of that oval. Then I can add that to my card. That blue paper is so pretty. It picks up on the blue butterflies in that pattern paper that I'm using towards the back. And then I'm using the With Loving Sympathy. This is from the Simon Says stamp, Sympathy Greetings stamp that I've been using throughout the video. So just trying to figure out where I want to place this. I did fussy cut around this, not leaving much of a border, and then I added the butterfly. Again, I'll add a little bit of glitter to that with my glitter pen, and that completes card number 12. So I will slow this down and show you all of the cards that I made today. So again, 12 cards featuring the Simple Stories Vintage Cottage Fields collection. I really love how these turned out. Let me know if you tend to struggle with sympathy cards and if this is helpful at all. I'm hoping that you will enjoy the next few videos that I have over the next few weeks featuring sympathy cards. So I decided to show these with showing you all the larger slimlines first and then all the A2 size cards, and then finishing off by recapping the mini slimline cards. So do let me know if you had a favorite card. I really appreciate all of you. Thank you for spending time with me. I will see you down in the comments below. See you next time. Have a fabulous day, everyone. Take care. Bye.